Hi everybody, let's get started. We are a bit late, but I'll try to be fast then. My name is Janne Kalliola. I'm from Exove, Finland, and I'm talking about virtual talkoot or bringing meaning to your life via open source. So a few words about myself. I've been around for a number of years coding, started at the tender age of 9 with week 20 with BASIC. Then with number of other languages throughout the university and so forth. I started with web publishing in '94 when it's pretty new thing, and with open source CMSs from 2003 onwards. And now I'm running Exove. I founded and I'm CEO of Exove, a leading open web technology company that focuses on digital growth. But today I'm not talking about Exove that much myself. But if you want to know more about me, then go to kallio.la, or then in Twitter I'm at plastic. And as said, Exove is the digital service design and development company. We focus on open source technologies. We deliver digital growth. We have a number of offices in the Nordics, Baltics, UK, and so forth. Around 100 people, a few hundred clients. So we have been here for some time. And for information about Exove, it's exove.com and at Exove in Twitter. But let's get to the point. I guess that as we are in Europe, most of you know that what are the Nordic countries. And 26 million people, a bit bigger than the Netherlands that has like 17-18 million people. We are found at top of the numerous metrics on education, economic competitiveness, liberties, quality of life, human development, happiness, so forth. And there's the Nordic model of economy and social structure that, for example, Mr. Sanders tries to copy the United States. I'll be interested to see how that would happen. But the idea is that the universal healthcare and welfare with heavy taxes that we actually pay pretty happily at the end, that we don't have gated communities in the countries. High income redistribution and little social unrest are the keys of the Nordic countries. These countries are surprisingly big in open source. Compared to the per capita, these countries have produced a number of high impact open source tools. I'll come back to that in the next slide. And why and how we are going to do it. So if you take a look at the things, probably most of your commercial stuff or open source stuff runs on these. Linux done by a Finn, MySQL done by a Finn and Swede, PHP is from Denmark originally, now mostly in Israel. One is a Danish-Norwegian corporation. Git is made by Finn. IRC that everybody used back in the days is a Finnish one. I bet that you didn't know that. OpenSSH is Finnish and so forth. So there is a lot of tools that come from the area. The question is that why we in the Nordics are so successful with open source. Is it because we have long winters, nothing to do? I don't know. The fertility rates in Finland actually have going down, so at least we are not doing that in the long winters. Maybe it's about that, but actually there is a number of reasons that all are something that are valuable for the open source communities. Transparency of the society, egalitarian, open and non-hierarchical culture. If I would have something to say, something worthwhile to President of Finland, I would probably get his attention in a few days through the networks, and it would not be, nobody would ask that who is this guy, but they would ask that what he is going to say. And that's huge different compared to most of the world where your position, role, state and so forth is more important than what you want to conceive. We are a small nation, so we are open to external influences. We have well-educated population. I think that half of the Finnish people nowadays get university degrees. And last but definitely not least, we have a history of doing things together for greater good. And this is what I'm going to talk today. In Finland we call it talkoot. Talkoot is actually found in Wikipedia. I was surprised when I made this presentation that actually somebody has written an English description of what is talkoot in Wikipedia. Some of you might know the term barnraising that is in the States, that is very similar form of getting things together or making things together. So typically a group of people come together to do something that a single person cannot do. It might be a common concern for the good of the group, for the good of that one single person. And in very core of talkoot, that is voluntary, that you cannot be ordered to come to talkoot, you can be only asked. And then if you come, then you come. So why this concept of talkoot? Why this matter? And to that I'll now come from the, let's say, physical plane to metaphysical plane, and for that we need to look a bit farther than the usual things that what we see. Because in the Western world we have no dreams anymore. This is a study made by a futurologist Aaltonen, that first name I'm now sort of missing, Mika Aaltonen, yes, from Aalto University. And they have found out that when they have studied the societies and the future, they see that there is no common dream anymore in the Western world. The last one was to get to the moon. And after that, there are no shared dreams anymore. Or is any one of you lusting for these kind of devices? How about these? Maybe somebody, when you start to think about the cost of fuel, the CO2 emissions, maintenance, everything, this is almost a sin to drive with these things. When I was a kid, like 7 years, 8 years old, we used to have the card game with the cars, and then we lusted for these kind of things, and then when I'm adult and I could drive, then it's now sort of immoral to do it. So that's one dream that never will be fulfilled, and actually now it's no dream for me anymore to own a Lamborghini or Ferrari, because it would be pain in somewhere to maintain and drive and so forth. So we have all already here in the Western world, and especially in the Nordics. And there is no need to strive to meet good standards of living in Western world. That you don't need to do anything extra to be able to cope. The stuff has lost its importance. Everything is made in China anyhow. Everything is causing pollution and so forth, so forth. The last thing that I actually lusted was the original iPad. Was it 2010 or something like that when it released? I actually happened to be in Germany and was so happy that I could buy 3 months before the Finns could get it from Germany, and that's why I'm still a German for Apple with my Apple account, because I activated it in a German bought device. So the things that our grandparents or our parents lusted for, like the fridges, color TVs, cars, all that has lost its appeal because they are common things. Everybody has those. We don't need anything as we already have it. And the cost of living has gone down dramatically. This is a big factor, because you don't need to spend half of your monthly salary to food or clothes. Actually, the clothes are so cheap currently that it's a huge problem to the whole world, that there's too many of those produced and they don't tolerate any wear and tear, but you dump them and then buy new ones. And the globe just can't sustain that. And then if you take almost anything needed by a normal person, it doesn't cost that much. as it used to cost a few decades ago. I still remember that we were probably the last family in my hometown of Polvijärvi that got color TV. And I was so angry to my parents that they bought it quite late, because we couldn't afford it. We had to get lawnmower first, we had to get a new car first and so forth. There's always something else, and the black and white TV, it was quite okay. Except that all my friends had a better one, but my parents didn't care that much about that. So, there are no material rewards for striving harder. So you don't get anything extra that is valuable to you by striving harder. The big dream of the past generation that to improve your standards of living is gone. It has been gone for 20, 30, 40 years, depends on the country, in Western world. When you go to Africa, when you go to Asia, when you go to South America, the big dream still is there. I'm not talking about the whole globe, but the Western world. We don't have the dream anymore because there's no point striving. And that is the biggest thing, that why we don't feel purpose in life. That there is no direction. And that's why people look the meaning and purpose from religion, from different kind of political movements, somewhere where they can feel that they are important. Because it doesn't come from making your own means, because the means are already here. As we do not have the dream anymore. Okay, done. What's next? What then? What should you do to have a meaningful life? Because at the end, there was a study in Finland, they said, ask the people that were like 80, 90 or something, what should they have done differently in the life? And nobody said that I should have worked more. But work is actually one of the things that defines us really, really deeply. And you are here because you love this work that you are doing. Sense of purpose comes from meaningfulness, that you feel that you have a meaningful life. And Mika Aaltonen said that they have studied that it's enough to have 1 hour, mere 1 hour a week for something meaningful to you. It doesn't need to be more than 1 hour that you get sense of meaningfulness, that you get sense of belonging in your life. As we are in DrupalCon, I have a hunch that what might be meaningful to you. But anyhow, at least 1 hour per week to something that you actually love, because meaningfulness doesn't come from things that you hate but you want to do because yes, I might get more meaningful. It won't happen that way. So 1 hour a week, the clock is ticking. So if you would take my advice and start sparing that one specific hour. My hour is typically Sunday night, 11 o'clock in the evening, when everybody else is sleeping. There's nobody wanting anything from me in that moment, because they are all happy sleeping, typically happy sleeping. Sometimes the kids are not, but anyhow, that is my hour. That can do something meaningful to me, something that nobody else sort of can take the time from me that I spend on the things. So you are typically good at things that you enjoy, or you will become, because you enjoy doing it, and then you master the skill and excel in that topic that you love. So if there's a thing that you love it and you are great at, then the intersection is where the passion happens. That you're passionate about something that you love and you're great at. It's really easy to be passionate about those things. So, wouldn't it be really wonderful that the things that are meaningful to me or to you would be beneficial to the world, that there would be double impact. That I'm doing good things for me, and then the world is getting better. So if there's something that the world needs, besides that you love it and you're great at, then there's also mission, besides the passion. And I might sound a bit too much like Blues Brothers So this is the concept of virtual talkoot. This one, you love it, you're great at, and the world needs. That you're doing something for greater good for the world. And now the Blues Brothers stuff, so you have a passion to be on a mission. That you want to do something really passionately that actually is good for the people, for the globe, for your environment, for your loved ones, to those people that you care at the end. The world gets better as skillful people love to do things that matter. And if they would do it preferably together and with some kind of coordinated effort, the impact would be even greater. Isn't that so? Does that sound familiar to you? Because this brings us back to open source. Actually, we are passionate about things that we are on a mission. So, if the chances would be that some of you is working with open source, I have a hunch that some of you might be working with open source, every contribution that you made and will make to the open source, make it better. As Chris discussed this morning, it will make it better. And there are people around the globe that will benefit from your work. It's not just you, and it's not just your co-worker, your friend, but it might be somebody completely different kind of person somewhere else that you have never known and will never know, but will have a tremendous effect on their lives. These people might be around you, so if you take a look around, there might be people that are actually benefiting your work right now. Different kind of thinkers that gain a profession from their hobby. That maybe few of you have been people that have sort of figured out what to do and then stumbled upon Drupal and then installed it and then sucked to the community and then found that I'm actually welcome here and so forth. And developers who can learn systems without spending money on license or certificates. This is crucial. The entry level to the community is low because you don't need to invest money. And for the most part of the world, there is way less money than there's time. The Western world is a different place. We have typically more money than we have time, but the rest of the world is completely opposite. In a developing country, being able to be a developer might be actually a ticket out of poverty. That you might be able not fund your own life, but life of your parents, life of your kids, maybe life of your siblings. Because you get that chance with open source without needing to collect the money, raise the money to buy something. Of course, the laptop is needed. That's something, or a phone in the future. But after that, everything is free. And if you think about these developing countries, what if they could use their IT budgets to foster local developers instead of paying the license fees abroad, typically the Western country that already has huge load of money, and the money would have way bigger impact in a developing country. So channeling the money to develop the platform, to fit the specific needs, and still keep the money locally instead of giving abroad. and raise the knowledge and skills of your own people there. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the only case where I have seen that this is like eating and having the cake. That when you work with open source, especially in developing country, you invest in the country while keeping the money in the country. So investment in the competencies, investments in the salaries, instead of giving to us Europeans or Americans as license fees. Successful open source communities grow and change constantly. There are new people. I really like to see new people. I've been in DrupalCon from 2011 and I see the same old people and then I see some new people, and the new people make me always really joyful that the community is growing. Every new developer that enters the open source community makes the community stronger, and this typically brings in more developers. Of course, making sure that the old developers follow a code of conduct and they are not complete a-holes. They typically bring more developers. And when there are enough people in the community, there will be always commercial opportunities. If you go to the sponsor hall, then almost half of the companies are selling stuff to other Drupal developers. There are so many companies that would sell stuff to you because they see commercial opportunity inside the community. And there will be, and there are, dozens of companies that would like to hire you to work with the open source. Not maybe full time, maybe 1 hour a week, maybe a bit more, but anyhow working with the open source. And this, ladies and gentlemen, completes the picture that if you have something that you love, you are great at, the world needs, and then you are actually paid for it, then you have passion, mission, profession, and vocation with the same stuff. And in the middle, there will be purpose in the life, in everyday churn with open source. Thank you. Any questions? Anyone? If not, then I ask to be. Sorry.
I have a question, Janne.
Uh-huh.
You say you spend an hour a week doing something good. Sorry. Right. You can do the next one. So the 1 hour you spend on Sunday evenings, what kind of work do you do? Is it open source contributions?
The last thing that I wrote was an Node.js-based content management system, just for the fun of it. Never got anywhere. After that, I've been toying around with RubyTag, that is a small Bluetooth sensor that measures the humidity, acceleration, temperature, and so forth. So I'm trying to get a magic mirror powered display to show the temperature of the night, past night, in our balcony instead of in somewhere in the where the measurement is in the real life. So that kind of things, tinkering along. Nothing really big for the open source right now, but fun things for me.
So I love the idea of having local communities invest in local developers. Do you think that that would be a worthwhile project for the Drupal community itself to foster and work on and attempt to grow and somehow, maybe create some kind of mentorship?
Yes and no. The Drupal community is a good tool to share the knowledge, but to be brutally honest, we are too much. If you're talking about developing countries, let's say that we are way too much guided by Westerners. So we don't really know what works, and we should keep our hands off. Maybe foster the local communities to think for themselves, and then echo that stuff when it's found working. But we should not go master and say in India you should do like that, because it's then digital colonialism at the end. So we should be really careful with that one. Then if you speak world as a whole and not just developing countries, then more yes than no, I would say. Again, I'm sort of a bit concerned about the centralized approaches, that the grassroots movement should be first. Of course, we can foster the grassroots movement and then see whether there's enough sparks that it ignites and there's big fire that makes things forward. If not, then we won't get it by pushing harder. And that's the Drupal community has a bit of a tendency, this is my personal opinion only, to make many committees and so forth on things that might not actually be yet ready for that kind of productization. So we should foster the sparks now and let the people do whatever they want to do. Maybe think that, okay, that if you get something like this, then come to us. We are willing to listen to that, but not the other way around, that you should do something like that, because then I think that it's a digital colonialism then. I don't know whether that was an answer to your question, but it was at this long.
No, I think that's very thoughtful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? If not, then I was asked to remind that there are the contributions, that if you want to use the 1 hour could start now, this week. The whole Thursday is contribution day, and then there are these different kind of workshops. And then kindly go to the website and then give me feedback about the session, and then also about the con in overall. That's all that I got. I do thank you as a magnificent audience. Thank you.